Alright, so here we have the old saddlebags. So those are Viking, but they are pretty beat up, and I'd like to change them against the new ones. Size comparison should be more or less the same size. Okay, total height 34 versus 36 cm. Length 57 versus roughly 56. And depth is exactly the same. Now the harder part will be to make sure that this actually fits in the space here. There's 10 cm and it's already been tight. Always to fit it with the crash guards. So I'll have to be careful to make sure that this actually works out properly, and that it's also horizontal. So that will be interesting. Yeah, so that part being the one, it has to fit here. So this distance is really between the attachment points here and this crash bar. So there are some subtle differences to take care of. So here on the top the new model actually overlaps a little, and it's not much, but it might run into the crash guard here where it overlaps. This one actually works in my favor because the signal light that's about at the tail end here is actually a lot higher than the tip of the new bag. So that's the outline, and the purpose of this is to make sure that we can use a mock-up and mount it and see whether it still fits in the existing mounting with the crash bars. And now we have to replicate this distance here, which is basically, a bit of a guess, 22 cm for the center of the hole. Seems about right. Now in front, even more guesswork, about 15 and a half. And then here, center to center, 23.7. Alright, now with the template, from the bottom 22, and from the front, it's 15 and a half, so 22 is here. Fifteen and a half from the front is here, and then the length here is 237. So those are the centers of our holes. Actually they're down here, but at this distance. Alright, so that's how the template looks here. We'll just have to hope for the best that with the standoff it's not going to be impinging on that seat. On the other side we can see that the standoff is probably good enough, should be like 5 cm or something, and keep it away from the seat as it is here, that it would be the same here. Okay, so I just realized that on the old saddlebag the front was actually slightly taller than the rear by 1 cm. So that can be corrected. That's actually going to help with the clearance to the rear seat here. Alright, so now that is the complete scientific mounting guide in millimeters. But of course we're not going to drill the holes yet. What we're going to do is we take off the old one, stick it on with double stick tape, and try to see if it still fits, actually mounting it on the bike, and then we drill. Alright, let's see what we have in here. Not too bad. Some stuff. That will be a lot of fun to take those screws off, those bolts, but we'll have to do it. So I got one side of the attachment off the old bag, so thanks to the help of my son. Couldn't do this alone because, as we see here, the manufacturer had the bright idea of using this massive Phillips bolts for something that's a machine screw. Practically a crime against humanity, because it's impossible to put any kind of wrench in there, and you just don't have the power with your hands to hold this down without rounding it off. So basically 2 of these will have to be drilled out and then replaced by something that makes more sense, like Allen or Torx saw. Just about anything but Phillips screws. So now we're at 8 mm, that's the actual size of the boot. Yep, dirty but works. Alright, double stick tip and everything here. Done in this way. Okay, interesting. That already doesn't work, so you can only put this here until the edge. Okay, first fitting. Okay, so far so good. Clearances are actually excellent. This will still open perfectly. Just hope it won't fall off now from the tape. And the back also fits very nicely. This is actually good. And something else, which is here, the clearance to all these parts, it's gonna be a bit tougher to estimate whether it actually works. This looks excellent. Actually, yeah, even no matter what, the swing arm is not gonna touch it. It looks good. Okay, so I did one thing. I actually changed the position to slightly higher. Why? Because here, now I have 3 inches of clearance to the wheel hub, and the bike has 3 inches suspension travel. So even if the cutout here should not be enough to accommodate that cup actually, it will still not run into the saddlebag, even at full use of the suspension travel. At least I hope so. And ready for drilling. Right now it's all stuck on with double stick tape, and I'm gonna leave it there because that gives a little bit of insulation from rattling, I would hope. Yeah, super easy. Looks very clean on the inside actually. I expected a lot worse. This is very nice. Alright, so we have some nice new bolts, and this time it's gonna be stainless steel Allen, so that eventually I'll be able to take them off one day. And my old washers, and that's already prepared here. It's gonna be a bit tough to get this tight. Because the bolts are a bit short. Because there's the inner lining, and well, it's a different material, I guess. It will work eventually. So it turns out I have to use a little bit of persuasion techniques to get this close enough so my bolts will fit. Okay, so it worked, but unfortunately without the large washers that I had actually intended to make this a bit more stable, because the case is plastic after all. Alright, so I went through the 5 stages of grief real quick and bought longer bolts, because it's just not a good idea to attach a plastic thing without having washers in there. It's just too risky. So I'll change the bolts that I bought against ones that are 5 millimeters longer. And yes, that looks a lot better, and that's not even tightened down yet, and everything seems to fit very well, including the washer. I did put a bit of thread lock too, just for good measure. And there we go. That should be it actually. Looking very nice. So looking pretty good here in terms of clearance. That works. That works. Symmetry.